My name is Master Raven Mayne. I am a Laurel from the Kingdom of Aidenville. I've been in the SCA going on 30 years. And during that time, I've been, my activity in the SCA has been either, low when I went to school, when I was going to college, to, work and whatever. So the level of participation has gone up and down. In that time, um, I have been participating a lot in the SCA. So what that means for me is that I had been going to some sort of SCA event or meeting every day of the week. I was going early on in my SCA. When I started, I was doing fighter practice. I was doing uh, uh, baronial meetings. I was doing war meetings. So I got to a point that I realized I'm doing too much, even though my love for the SCA is great. I needed to figure out some ways and to kind of help me reduce any kind of stressors that I have or anything else. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to open up a PowerPoint and I'm going to go through it. I think there's about 12, and it's all of it is just advice. So it's just things to think about if you feel like you're getting too busy or you're approaching burnout in the SCA. It's just some advice on things to think about and kind of get you through it. And then after that, after I stop that, then I'll just briefly go through my suggestions for a SCA resume. Hopefully everybody can see this. This is just the advice on avoiding burnout in the SCA. The following is a list of suggestions to try and keep the am I doing too much at bay. The first one is remind yourself you are in control of your time, money, physical, and mental health. Remember, you do not have to do anything, but you should do things. Now, the caveat to that is that if you have an officer position, um, or you promise to do things, you might have to say, I have to do it. That is kind of something that people have to say um, to other people if they're asking what you're doing, just so that they know that you're dedicated to whatever it is. But if you can, to try and replace have to I should do these, or I get to do things, or I'm getting to do this, or um, I want to do this. Those kind of phrases, if you can fit them into vernacular rather than I have to. Um, that small change in the way you talk about things will kind of ease what you're doing in the whatever project or mission that you have. Two, create multiple contingency plans. Do this will help reduce stress on most any task, and would be very helpful if you ever get into a point. Whoops. Oh, get to a point where you have been push yourself too much. There are always unforeseen variables in any task or situation. Um, I kind of suggested this to anybody that's being an autocrat or a steward. Um, you have multiple plans and not put all your eggs in one basket type thing. Um, the more plans you have, the better, because of the fact that if something does go wrong, you automatically have a plan to fall back on. What I usually kid around when I'm talking about is I try and use every letter in the alphabet when I'm coming up with plans. Um, and again, that just helps reduce stress when you have the something to fall back on. So you're not stressing about if something, whatever goes wrong, you always have something to fall back on. to get you through whatever you're doing. 3, create flexible goals. Remember, you have goals that might change and you may need to adjust them as you go. Because of this and any other number of reasons, it is advisable to reevaluate goals every so often. And what that means is that when you have a goal or you have, a list of things you want to go through, make sure that they're all flexible and they're not uh, be all or end all, or a situation where if something goes wrong, there is no way even to have another plan in place. So try and have all your goals be flexible as much as possible. And as you, whether it's an office or uh, your daily plans or whatever you plan to do in the SCA, kind of reevaluate those every so often to see if that whatever you're doing, you're enjoying, you're having a good time, you're enjoying your time, whatever the job is or whatever the task is. So you may need to adjust as you move along. So always be flexible. By the way, all of these are numbered just for my sake for the PowerPoint. They don't really mean much. But 4, be as honest as you can with others and yourself and what you can and cannot do, might be able to do. So what this means is that if you're taking on whatever thing you're doing, whether you're being, a marshal or whether you're being an event steward or you volunteered to help out, whatever it is, make sure whoever's in charge knows if you're ever getting to a point where you can't handle something, or maybe a heads up, maybe for them if you something might come up, um, or if you have, if something does come up, what plans that you have, just so whoever, if you're not the one in charge, um, make sure whoever is in charge knows honestly if you can handle something or if you can't handle something. Just to be honest as much as possible. There's a lot of individuals who take on tasks or a job and then they realize they can't do it. And instead of letting people know that they need help, they just kind of let it go. And we don't really rather not have that. So be as honest as you can with everybody, that, especially the person that, again, if you're not the leader, um, to let them know, again, what your situation is, um, just so that they can prepare if something does happen. If you're having issues accomplishing goals, seek advice or assistance. If you are just not getting things accomplished, know when to hand things over, preferably before things get out of hand. Again, if you're having issues or have problems or concerns, no matter what it is, even if it's nothing warranted or official, um, just make sure that if you're having some issues, let people know, especially your friends and close friends, know that you're having some kind of concerns about certain things. But especially if you are in a job position or office position, or again, steward or autocrat, that whoever is leading, whoever is above you, whoever is leading, who's ever in charge, if not you, let them know that when you're having issues and how you're trying to accomplish it. It's best if they know, again, that things are going, may have some problems in the future or some things, so readjustments. It's better to know advanced rather than last minute. So again, when I was talking before about having the job position, if you're taking on a position or doing anything and your life is just too hectic for whatever reason, make sure that whoever's in charge, again, whether it's whoever the officer above you, if you're not the officer, make adjustments to hand over, whether it is whatever station or position you have. Make sure that you if you know that you cannot accomplish what you're set out to do, that you hand it over to someone who will be able to take the reins, you'll be able to take charge, and preferably before things to get too messed up and too out of control, where it's going to take more to fix the messes or fix the issues, and not really do what the task is at hand. So know your limits. There is, again, sometimes for certain instances, you can try and step out of your comfort zone, but just make sure that there's a way to step back. There's options to step back, no matter what you do. 6, make every transition in and out of any project, job position as smooth as possible. Again, this goes on to any kind of officer position, or anything that whether no matter what you volunteer to do or are in charge of doing. As soon as you start it, make sure that whoever takes it on after you has all the information that they need. Sometimes they don't use it. Sometimes they need or want to create something new or a way of doing the job that they think they would rather do it. But as long as you give them all the information, they can either take it or leave it or do whatever they want with it. So whatever that transition is, try and make it as easy as possible. Again, doing whatever you need to do up until the point that they take over. Sometimes for an officer position, they do have it so that you can step in as a deputy to that position. But other things that, for like when you're being an autocrat or a steward, a lot of these things need to be, if you're going to do a transition like that, need to be as soon as possible. A lot of these times you can do, a co with somebody or whatever, but when it comes to anything, try and make sure whatever it is that you're in charge of, make sure that the transition from you to the next person is as smooth as possible. 7, take breaks. A lot of times you are enjoying your time so much in the SCA or what you're doing, you forget that you need to take a break. And this may come up later in some of the things that I wrote, but take breaks. Remember to take time for yourself anytime you can manage it. Enjoy things that you have accomplished. Enjoy more of life. You may have to set a length of time for yourself to give the mind and body and time to relax. There are many times that I see individuals, for example, who enter A&S competitions and they just move on to the next thing. Now, for some people, that's necessary. But I try and remind people that whether you win a competition, whether you don't get a bid, do or don't get a bid, or do or don't win anything, take time for yourself to relish in the fact of the work that you did. Whether you succeeded or not, always take time to relax somewhere, wherever it is, where you're comfortable. Take a break, read a book, watch a movie, do something else, but always take time to, again, relish in the successes that you have, but also in the work that it took you to get to that point, whether you succeeded or not. So a lot of people forget to do that. But take breaks. Sometimes you do need to take breaks, and sometimes it needs to be, you need to force yourself to take a break, especially if you're getting on too much. Now, for all the other ones that I had brought up about letting those that, if you're not the leader or you're not in charge, completely in charge, letting those above you know that you need to take a break. Most often, everybody will understand that you need to take a break of some sort. Again, whether it's just for your mind and or your body, just to take a break before you start again. I don't think there's anybody that I have met so far that has been in charge who wants anybody underneath them to or working with them or working for them to overexert themselves. You want them to take time and enjoy the time, whatever that they're doing. So taking breaks for a lot of people is hard. So I think, again, I kind of mentioned this maybe later. Hopefully you have different hobbies besides the SCA, or even inside the SCA that you have a different projects that you can do to try and do something different. Preferably outside the SCA so you can take a complete break. Have like another small hobby or anything that you can do that's non-SCA related. Again, just to give your mind and body a break. No matter what you do, always do them because you enjoy it. If not, do something else. So a lot of the part of the SCA, and the reason that you're part of the SCA is because you enjoy doing whatever it is you're doing. If you're not enjoying it, do something else. So try not to make those changes in the last minute, make them gradual. But yeah, find something else in the SCA that brings you joy. So because that's something that it's going to bring the longevity of whatever you're doing, just because you're enjoying it. So if you're doing a job, sometimes people take on jobs or take on some sort of duty, and they realize that that's not something they wanted to do. So again, make that transition for someone else to take over if they can. But let people know that either you're not comfortable or it's not something that you thought you would enjoy, so you may need to do something else. But again, try not to make those an abrupt change if you've given a job or a task that had a long, say, mission statement for lack of a better word right now. So yeah, do whatever makes you happy, and sometimes also give things a chance. So I always suggest to people to try things, even though it looks like it, if you can, to try something new, try something different. There's many people that I've talked to that went to a class they didn't think they have any interest in doing, and now it's like their passion. So always give everything a chance, whether it's if you can, if you're able to, like any kind of fighting, any martial art, or any kind of dancing or cooking or weaving or whatever it is. At least look into it and kind of, if you can physically do these things, always give it a shot and see if it's something that you're going to like. I'd rather have that than have individuals or having anybody look at something from a distance and say, I don't like that. I'm going to do something else. I always try and encourage people just to give it a try and make sure firsthand whether they like it or not. This one is something not everybody can do, but you travel as much as you financially can manage. Sometimes we need to refamiliarize ourselves with the size of the SCA as a whole. As we participate in local groups, for some can become a microcosm, which everything is magnified. What I mean by this is I have noticed that there are individuals that are in a barony or in a shire, and they vented to me about issues and concerns that they have, and I have to remind them that the SCA is bigger and it's not just local. So if you're having issues locally, travel, and that's where you get to see and hopefully understand the scope of the SCA and how large it is. Even though there different parts of the SCA have probably similar problems or issues that you have locally. If you want to look for solutions or for advice on something that's happening outside the SCA, or find something new, something that maybe locally you don't have, and you can see what other parts of the SCA are doing. I have been very lucky in the time that I've been in the SCA to travel and go to different wars in different parts of the SCA and be able to really see how large get a kind of an idea of how big the SCA is. And it's just wonderful to be in different parts, the other people enjoying the SCA, and kind of bringing that back to where I am locally. So, but yeah, if you can travel, I encourage as much as you can. If you can financially manage it, to definitely travel because that releases a lot of stress in some ways. So that's another way to avoid getting too burned out too, is just to travel. It usually helps that. 10 is venting. So hopefully you have a close friend that you can do this to, somebody that will just be able to listen to you. So every so often vent to a person you can trust and truly keep your confidence. So hopefully if you don't, make sure you can find a person that you can do this to. It's in the SCA is really good, but more often than not, this is kind of good to find somebody who's not in the SCA because they have no interest usually. If you can find somebody that's not SCA who has no interest in the SCA, you can vent to them about all the issues and concerns that you have, and they'll be able to understand the problem and not maybe the source of it or how it came about, but at least they'll listen to you. It's 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 good to do this every so often, just to kind of get it off your chest and uh, and just to be heard. If you're not being heard locally, if you don't feel like you're being heard locally for some reason, um, this is another reason to vent. So yeah, just find a way to let out all of your problems and concerns to someone. Now it could be it could be something to say, but again, I'd rather trying to vent to somebody that is not SCA, because again, they don't have any kind of, they'll just be able to listen to your problems. So, have many diverse and varied interests outside of your primary hobby. Not everybody can do this, but like for me and my wife, we do a lot of Disney things. I've noticed a lot of people in the SA, they'll do Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or whatever it is. They have another hobby. Usually, it doesn't take too much financial burden from them. But any kind of hobby that you can do that you can have outside the SCA will give your mind a break if for some reason the SCA is getting too much, or if you feel like it's getting too much, even when you're taking like I mentioned before about taking a break. Um, but I always say to have many diverse and varied interests inside and outside the SCA. Because sometimes when you're doing one thing for too long, you just need to give your mind a break. Um, but yeah, if you can have any kind of hobbies outside of the SCA, again, hopefully not too much of a financial burden because the SCA can cost quite a bit depending on how much you play or how much you invest your time and your energy into the SCA. But yeah, having a hobby will also give you a break and help you from burning out, getting too stressed. And this is the last one, I believe. Try and have a list of things you can do to relax and clear your mind. Also have a list of activities to release stress, like going to a gym or playing video or board games. Again, when it comes to taking a break or any of the things, if you're, again, for the reason for uh, this part of the class is that, you feel like you're getting overburdened or too stressed, or this is also part of making different plans A, B, and C and things like that. To have just a list of things, it doesn't have to be written down. You can write it down, but there's the things in your mind where like, if it's ever feeling like you're getting to a point where you need to take a break or you need to do something else, you have a list of things you can go to, probably in your mind that you can just clear your mind and do something totally different. And a lot of I guess a lot of the takeaway from this class is just to be able to take a break. So whatever you can, however you can, think of ways to take breaks. Um, if you have no, any offices or things that need your attention daily or weekly or anything like that, if you're just enjoying your time in the SCA, but for whatever reason it might be too much, take a break and tell your friends and everything else that you just need to take a break. And like I mentioned before, everybody's going to understand that you need to take a break mentally. So let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up the handout really quick, maybe, so that I can talk about the the next part of the class. As part of that ended that ends the part of the advice I have for helping with burnout and any too much in the essay. Right now, I'm trying to bring up the Word doc or the handout. Take some time. That's the part of the part of the PowerPoint that I had attached. So this is the handout that I got. So this is the next part of the class, which is the SCA resume or curriculum vitae. Most joining SCA will think that they need to, don't think they need to have an SCA. I advise everyone to one and chronicle, make one and chronicle their adventure journey and create one. So um, when I became a protege um, in the early 2000s, one of the things that the Pelican that was protege to asked every one of her proteges to do was to make a resume. So it was after 12 years of being in the SCA, I never had thought about making one, but they do come in handy. I've often referred to it many times, but also um, it records. You can record what happened when. Sometimes we have get an award or we autocredit something or whatever it is, and at least as you get older, I don't know, not everybody has this, but you forget when you did it. So um, it's often I go back to it and I autocredit this thing once, or I taught this one thing that I will get to as I go down the essay resume, what I include in the SCA resume. But I also use it for applying for any position. So not everybody knows about these things or knows that they're coming, especially when you're doing like a letter of intent or whatever it is that you're applying for. If you have this with it, um, this will also be a good for someone that is considering multiple people for a position or not. It's kind of just good for anybody that's doing that's doing the hiring or whatever it is to know, kind of get a snapshot of, the things that you've accomplished and the things that you've done. Me and my wife did it when we went for Baron Baroness. I did it for any of the Kingdom Baronial, even the society jobs that I applied for. I've always used it. You can also review it sometimes when you're if you have any goals, like if you're trying to do, more service or more arts or fighting, whatever it is, sometimes you can kind of look at your resume and kind of see if you can see, like, again, in the snapshot of where you're going or where you're heading, if you're going in the right direction that you wanted to go to. So it's great. Also remind yourself and being proud of what you accomplished. Again, so many times that we're doing so much in the SCA, we forget about, um, sometimes we forget some of the awards or accolades that we've done, um, or some of the things, the events that we ran, or tournaments that we fought in, whatever it is. And sometimes you get to a point where you're doing so much that you forget that all the things that you've done. So just to kind of, again, to remind yourself of what you've done, it's good to be able to, again, a snapshot of everything that you're doing. Now, below is what I suggest. Now, you don't have to, you can adjust it any way you want, but this is the following what I have on my resume. So we can kind of go through this really quick. So obviously name, SCA name, membership number, expiration date. Sometimes all you need is your number and expiration date. Sometimes you can't find your card, so having this on hand helps with that, so you can go directly to it. I'm not sure if fighter authorization number is something that you really need your card for, but if someone for some reason needs the number, not every kingdom has those, I don't think. I'm not 100% sure, but that could come in handy. Again, if you're using this for applying for any kind of job, this is where some of this kind of comes into play, where you don't necessarily need it, but if you're going to use it for, again, applying for a position or to run something wherever, we need to have some of this information. So like your email, the one that you use and the one that you not only use, but the one that you check. Often, because you never know when you're going to get an email from whatever that you're doing. Now I have the Blazon for my SCA device. I never thought I would need it, but I need it often enough that I don't have it memorized. So, and I've been getting more into heraldry lately, so a lot of the times that I'll just need to have the Blazon for that. I have the date I joined the SCA. That's kind of, for me, it's kind of vague because it's either the first event that you went to or when you actually purchased your membership. So it all depends on you, on the SCA date you joined. So when you actually participated continually from that time on, is kind of guess what timeline that is. Now, if you're just starting out in the SCA, you might not have a lot of these things yet, but as you play in the SCA, hopefully you'll get acknowledged for whatever that you're doing. So I just have a list of the kingdom or principality awards and when the date I received them. I usually just put month and year, but you could put date if you wanted to. Baronial awards is another thing. Now you don't have to have this on your just a title like you're waiting for it or whatever. But if you do get them, this kind of information is really kind of has come in handy more often than not for a lot of this stuff. So this is beneficial if you were able to do it. The next thing on the list is being belted, or if you're a student of, obviously whoever it is, their title, and whenever you ever became belted to that individual or a student that individual. Again, this is also something that you can refer to. Offices held, so start and end date for kingdom offices, baronial offices, shire offices, whatever office it is. This is something also to be able to keep track of when you're doing certain things. And also, can you refer to this? And sometimes you don't have your warrant, or when you started and when your warrant ends. Sometimes you don't have that kind of information handy, or you don't remember. So referring to the resume. Okay. Oh yeah, my end date's coming up soon. Again, for those kind of things, you might want to put date, uh, day, and month and year. So if you autocrat or a steward, if you're a steward for anything, or you're whatever it is, that's another thing of events that you were autocrat or steward of, or for any of those things, kind of when it happened, month and year. If you're going into the service kind of thing, teaching experience. So you might have list the subject that you taught, the location, and the month and the year. So subject is always good, obviously. So you can see if you're teaching a lot or whatever you're teaching, just to know when you taught it and where you taught it at. For SCA, for resume wise, you want to should keep it as brief as possible, so you don't have to like put the whole location, but you can put the event and maybe what city it was in if you want to list that kind of stuff. So I usually just do subject and year just so that I can keep track of where it is and where I taught that. But location is always good. So the next thing is going to be up to you. So on how you want to do it. There's notable accomplishments. So AS competitions or competitions in general that you participated in, any tournaments that you participated in. Sometimes if you find you want to, you could, if you want, for your records, not necessarily for resume records, but you can always list if you want, when you placed, if you got second, or did 3 out of 5 or whatever it is. You can also list that kind of stuff. If you made any largesse or regalia, um, that's also about what you made, how much you made of it, where it went to, that kind of thing. That comes in handy too, especially if someone asks you when you made something, or what you made. What you made, this kind of information does come up in handy if you do make largesse or regalia. It comes up a lot for me anyway. The other thing is projects you worked on. So this is kind of vague, but I wanted to list something that you can put anything under. So um, whatever kind of project, even if you just helped with something, not necessarily even officially, but you just lended a hand with something, you can always list those kind of things. Again, like if somebody was making a largesse and you just gave them a hand and making it, just put that down, what you helped doing. The last thing, depending on if this is something that you can use or not, you can have, sometimes households can be awarded, have awards from either Kingdom or Barony, depending where you live. So I kind of put the year I joined or created a household, and hopefully not when it went away or when it stopped, but at least when you joined, and how long, maybe the years that you belong to it, and any kind of awards that they received or that they got. So that is it. Um, and if you didn't get my handout, let me see if I can get back to it. Oh, there I got it again. So there's my handout that's in the chat, so you can always go to that. And on the handout is my email address. So if you have any questions about anything that I went over, or something that maybe you thought maybe I could add to this class, or any kind of questions like that, just email me with in the subject line of where you heard my class. And again, any kind of questions or concerns or anything that you have, my email is on the handout. So that is the end of my class.